Hey guys, we got Axis&Allies here, 1942 second edition. Just finished round 5. Just want to give you an overview of what the board looks like here. It was a very interesting round. As we get ready to start round 6. Okay, well in this round, Russia moved all of its forces, or most of them, into Stalingrad. Got a definitely a big army there. You don't want the Germans to take that city, so they're holding it, as long as they can. They are going to have to deal with the forces in West Russia, which the Germans just took this last turn. Because if they don't attack that army there, the Germans could blitz 12 tanks into Moscow. That'll probably be game. So the Russians are going to have to deal with that for sure. They took these two territories back from Japan this last turn. So they made 25 IPCs on this round, and they're still hanging in there. We'll see what they do the next round. They got 2 Japanese units up here they're going to have to deal with eventually. Kind of a pain in the ass for them. But Russia's still hanging in there. Okay, the Germans. Well, they lost Africa, as we all knew it was coming. The Egyptian garrison was massacred pretty much by the British and Americans. So basically all their German units were in the European continent right now, as the Allies landed on northwestern Europe this time, and that's a problem the Germans are going to have to deal with. The British player also brought in an AA gun. The goal was to, hopefully for them, was to pick off a German aircraft if the Germans bring any aircraft into that battle. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, it's just another problem the Germans are going to deal with. So that's probably going to affect the supplies going to the east, at least limited supplies. We'll see what happens. But yeah, UK, like I said, they landed there. Still got their big navy here off France. Africa is still intact, so they're getting their money there. They have a fighter on Transjordan that's going to work its way into India. India is still holding out there, looks pretty strong. Still got their units on Australia, and small British fleet off Iwo Jima with the main US fleet. Japan expanded a little into Russia in the north, not that much, just took 1 territory. They still have the territories in China, and now the Russians pushed them out of Russia from this side of the board. In Asia, there's been a few skirmishes in Burma. It's been going back and forth between the Japanese and the British. Both armies are hesitant to bring the whole army because one army can counterattack and wipe out the other army. So it's been small battles. As you know, the main Japanese fleet is off Tokyo Bay. Still just staying there put, doesn't want to move south because the Allies have a huge navy here. So it's that's kind of been the main goal for the U.S. is to keep the Japanese navy up there. That way they don't have a presence in the sea zone and can't do an assault on India, which is good for India. So Japan made, I believe, about 36 IPCs last turn, so they're still doing okay. They're able to build off their factories in Asia. I mean, those units are hopefully going to India or even Russia. We'll see what happens. The Russians did shoot down 1 Japanese bomber, which was good for the Russians on an air raid. The U.S., still going mostly Pacific, has its main fleet off Iwo Jima. They did send a transport to Guadalcanal with 2 men. It's more kind of a decoy move, try to force the Japanese to bring in their fleet here so the U.S. can just smash them, or just kind of have the Japanese use blockers. I don't know if the Japanese are going to fall for that trick. Regardless, the U.S. does have a bomber, and they could attack Borneo with these 2 men, and the U.S. could get the islands, 4 IPCs, but it's a tough decision the Japanese commanders are going to have to make. The Pacific campaign is always like a cat and mouse game. Whoever makes that mistake is really going to pay the price. So if Japan goes for it, we'll see what happens. In the European theater, the Americans have small resources going there, not too much as you know. They followed up onto northwestern Europe, joining the British units there. They have assembled about 8 divisions. There's artillery, tank, and an AA gun. and they had that Norway complex going into work, building 2 men there. So we'll see what happens. It was a very interesting turn. This next turn is definitely going to be interesting to see what happens in the Pacific, this side of the board, and in Europe with the Russians. What move are they going to do? Are they going to attack that force in Ukraine? I don't know if they're strong enough. We'll see what happens, but still think the Allies still have the edge in this one, but we'll see what happens. All right, starting turn 6. Deuces.